You guys want to see a dead body? I mean, a Hawas fragrance? Haha, a new one. It's Rasasi Hawas London. They just keep coming. It's like, it's nonstop, it's never ending. Kind of like a horror movie, you know? You're like going down a hallway, you check behind you, nothing there, nothing there. Ah! All of a sudden, a Hawas appears. Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Now this one was sent to me by Beauty House. It's gonna be linked in the description below. By the way, should you shop at Beauty House, check this out, a code. You can use that code anytime you shop there to save yourself some cash. They've got a ton of sick fragrances there, so make sure you check them out. Let's kick this off by taking a look at the presentation, and I'll let you guys know how Hawas London is, or isn't, or whatever. First, the box. On the front, you have the name of the fragrance, the flanker name, size and concentration. It's a 100 ml eau de parfum. Got a nice gradient, kind of a pinkish hue at the bottom, blue up top. What is that? Is that Westminster there? Oh, nice. On the back, you have a little bit of information. On the bottom, you're gonna find your ingredients, your batch code, and your barcode. And here is the bottle. On the front, you have the name of the fragrance. Once again, Hawas for Him, London. Same gradient as the box, blue up top, pink at the bottom. You have Rasasi on top of the cap. You have a sticker on the bottom as well. And of course, the cap does click into place. What do you say we do a couple sprays? Here we go. Ooh, powerful. So you may be thinking to yourself, why is it named Hawas London? What makes this one a Londonian fragrance? Well, this one is supposed to be a clone or an alternative to Brompton Immortals, which is a Harrods London exclusive fragrance, hence the name Hawas London. So that's where the flanker name comes from. That makes sense, but does this makes sense as a Hawas fragrance? Well, the way this one opens is very, very old school. It has a mature opening direction. So when you first spray this one on, if you're expecting something that's more in line with what I and probably a lot of other people would think of the Hawas name being, something youthful, something sweet, something really attention grabbing, yeah, it's not that. Off the top, it smells like a powdery floral fizz mixed with clean hand soap. It has little pips of fresh spice that sparkle through the opening, so that it's gonna be the saffron, the pink pepper that's in here. You know, it doesn't add heat or anything like that. It doesn't really add sweetness either. Just a little bit of a sparkly edge. The pear note that's in here doesn't come across youthful or juicy. Instead, it comes across more like shampoo to an extent. So it has a somewhat dated fruity cleanliness in here that makes it feel like the fragrance is pulling from a completely different era than the one that we currently find ourselves in. Now, to be fair, it is a clone fragrance. So, I mean, it's made to smell something similar to something else out there. Something similar to something, yeah. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I have not smelled the fragrance that this is supposed to be a clone of. And I would imagine probably like 99.9% of you out there watching this are in the same boat. It's a very specific scent. And of course, there are gonna be a lot of people out there that own that one, that wear that one, that love that one, but it's not really, you know, the same type of familiarity that people are gonna have as with like a Creed or a Parfums de Marly or something like that. That's neither a positive or a negative, just kind of throwing that out there. So in essence, I do have to just tell you how it smells to me and how it comes across to me. I can't tell you if it's 100% perfect clone or not. And just for the record, I'm not spending the $560 to go ahead and scoop up the straight to parfum version of the fragrance it's a clone of, especially after smelling this one. So the atmosphere of Hawas London off the top is pure luxury hotel lobby vibes. Howdy-towdy, expensive air, polished and groomed, with that airy quality having a powdered edge. You do also get some sugary edge to the floral notes that are in here, and a little bit of that powdered vanilla starts to come up more as the fragrance dries down into the mid. And to be fair, it does smell classy. It does smell like it has an air of luxury off the top. Just done in a very mature way. And I'd say that into the mid, it kind of almost doubles down on that somewhat vintage era vibe. My wife, her specific words smelling this fragrance in the mid were, it smells like a women's fragrance that Estee Lauder would have put out in the 70s, which actually kudos to her. That was really, really specific. And I got to agree, it kind of gives across like semi-grandma vibes in the mid. At least for me, when I smell it, I'm like, yeah, that's got a feminine lean to it. It's got that throwback style to it, powdered florals, that kind of hand soapiness, classic department store elegance, done with the more luxurious backbone. You get a light dusting of frankincense that goes over top of the florals, and it's not, you know, an incensey note. It's not a heavy incense. It's more like a dry sort of resinous feel. And then you get this clean white musk underneath, which does keep everything rounded. It keeps everything decently smooth. It's just, it does, when it comes out, push it a little further in that somewhat vintage direction. And the way that the rose hits in this fragrance, to me, also leans a bit feminine as well. So it's like this sweet, watery rose with sugary aspects to it. Not heavily sugared though, just a faint sweetness that's kind of sprinkled in there over top of the rose almost. And to me, in the opening, in the mid, this is not the type of fragrance that a younger guy is gonna wanna wear ever. I just don't really see it happening with the overwhelming majority of younger guys out there. You know, a lot of the people who are wearing the original Hawas, Hawas Ice, Hawas Fire, stuff like that, they would smell this one and just be like, it's gonna absolutely give off grandma, grandpa vibes, whatever, for younger people. And I'd say for a lot of middle-aged guys as well, you know, probably not gonna be something they go for. It's gonna be a very particular person who wants this fragrance and is really happy with this fragrance and is gonna wear this fragrance. And I'm not saying the quality is bad here. We'll get to that more in a second. It's just, it is locked into a lane that, to be fair, they haven't really approached before with the Hawas line. But then the flip side of that is that what Hawas is now? It's just, who cares? We'll just throw out anything and that can be Hawas. We're just gonna slap it in that bottle and be like, good enough. Now, as this dries down, it takes on a little bit of an ambery glow, kind of works hand in hand with the vanilla. Doesn't give you a whole heck of a lot of sweetness, but it does give you a little boost in that aspect as it dries down. Obviously, it never pivots into full-on amber vanilla modern stylings. You know, it doesn't go real heavy with those notes. The floral soapy aspect carries over into the dry down also. The clean muskiness, that's in there as well. It stays very polished, stays very classic, stays clean, and at times to me takes on almost a faint, freshened potpourri vibe, kind of along the edges. Now, in terms of performance, Hawas London is, as typical with Hawas fragrances, pretty solid. Sticks around for a while, projects well. It's not as strong as some of their other releases, you know, like Elixir and Hawas Black, but to be fair, most fragrances aren't really that strong, so that's not really a big surprise. For what this is, at its heart, if you really boil it down, you know, it's like a soapy, powdery, floral type of scent done in a more old school way. Performance is good, and that carries over into the seasonality of the fragrance. I wouldn't wear it during the summer. I'd wear it spring, fall, winter if I really like the fragrance, day or night. Keeping in mind that, again, if you're wearing it in the evening, the scent profile leans more classy soap than it does sweet club banger. So one of the big questions that I had when wearing this fragrance is, who is it for exactly? Now, it says Hawas for him right there on the front, but then they hit you with the blue and pink gradient, which, to be fair, does look pretty sweet. But a lot of guys out there who are just looking for something affordable and wearable and attention grabbing, which, if we're honest here, is the majority of people buying Hawas fragrances, they're gonna get this and be like, it's feminine leaning. It's old school. It smells like my grandma. A white floral rose musk soapy vibe, you know? So a lot of people who would potentially blind buy this are gonna be kind of taken aback in a bad way. At least that's my expectation. I could be completely wrong in terms of how I'm reading that. That's just, when I smell this, that's how it kind of hits me. And to be fair, there are absolutely guys out there who would love this. Guys who like the finer things in life, who are suited up day and night, pinkies up, who embrace that more vintage style, you know, that floral forward aspect that has a throwback scent profile. They're gonna dig it. And to them, this is going to feel like a steal of the century. But at the same time, if that's the type of person that you are, rocking suits day and night, then you might rather have the more expensive real deal. That way you can say that you're really, truly living the luxurious life. So as I said, it's for a very specific type of person. And I'll tell you straight up, my wife hates it. In case the Estee Lauder 70s grandma fragrance vibe that she told me it was giving her wasn't clear enough, she's not a fan. And it's also not the type of thing I'm gonna wear either. Which leads me to my next point, which is, what is Hawas now? And to be clear here, I'm not saying that the only thing that Hawas is allowed to be inspired by is the same 5 things that everything else is inspired by. I'm not saying that they have to do a myself clone and an angel share clone and pop those into Hawas bottles. But what I am saying is, I don't know what Hawas is anymore. Now I know some people would be like, you're an idiot. Hawas is just clones. They can be whatever they want, which is true, obviously. But for a while there, it seemed like there was at least somewhat of a common thread where they were fresh, they were sweet, they were loud, they got compliments, they were versatile, and they were cheap. But then at some point, it's like Rasasi went, we don't really need to mess around with like making new lines and stuff. Just put everything into the Hawas bottle and it will sell. Because it's Hawas, it's an infinite money hack. A friggin' genius, yes. And I feel like the potential issue with this is the more that you release stuff that just feels kind of thrown out there, people will check less for your next new release. So instead of it being like, there's a new Hawas, I gotta know what it is. I need to buy it. It becomes, yet another new Hawas. I wonder what they're doing this time. And so unless it's an absolutely monster release where, it's unavoidable, the fragrances start to just kind of fall by the wayside and people go, another one, great. And that's kind of how this one hits me because it's really random. And I'm not saying don't clone something that most people have never smelled, go for it. If you want to do that, that's fine. Just maybe the fragrance that you're doing should be something that more people would actually want to wear. Because the way this one hits me, just the weird vibe of it all, would be like Dumont in their Nitro line. They've got Nitro Red Intensely, all this stuff. If they went, you know what we need to do? We're gonna clone Amouage Gold Man. Just the most old school feeling floral fragrance that Amouage has done that most people nowadays are not gonna wear outside of a few people who recognize it as a masterpiece. We're gonna clone that and we're gonna put it in one of our Nitro bottles. Genius. Or it would be like Afnan with their 9 p.m. line cloning Koros or something. People would go, 9 p.m., what the F is this? That's kind of how this hits. Maybe not as extreme as those, but it's still kind of that WTF thing going on. So the pros and the cons, broken down simply. The pros first. As a very classy luxury hotel lobby kind of vibe, kind of an old money soapiness. The way the clean musk and the powdered florals and the faint sweetness all comes together does make it smell luxurious. The performance is strong, it has good staying power, the projection is solid. And for the right person, this would be an amazing quality fragrance at a really competitive price. The cons. For the majority of people, it's gonna smell dated the way that it comes across. Also, the floral notes, they lean feminine. I know there will be some defenders who come out, they're like, no, men can absolutely pull this off, which is true because technically, you can wear literally anything you want. Nobody's stopping you. But if you just go up to 100 people, random people, and you say, does this lean masculine? Does this lean feminine? The majority will say feminine. Another con, at least for me, it doesn't really match up in my mind with what Hawas has been set to be. The audience for this is quite small compared to some of the others. And the last con to me is that this fragrance helps push the Hawas line even further toward brand fatigue. So that is Hawas London. To me, very throwbackish. It does smell luxurious. It does smell elegant. It also smells dated to most people, and it's not something I'm gonna wear. I wanna thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.